Every living organism on Earth, from the simplest cyanobacterium to the complexity of a human being, is part of a grand and ancient dance, a dance choreographed by time itself. At the heart of this intricate ballet lies a remarkable phenomenon, circadian rhythms. The word circadian comes from the Latin circa, meaning about, and dies, meaning day. This term captures the essence of these rhythms, internal cycles that last about 24 hours, echoing the natural division of day and night. But circadian rhythms are much more than a simple response to the external world. They are, at their core, internal processes, ticking away in the cells and tissues of living things, orchestrating the patterns of life. The story of circadian rhythms begins not with modern science, but with keen observations made millennia ago. In the 4th century before Christ, Theophrastus, a disciple of Aristotle, noticed that certain plants opened and closed their leaves at regular intervals, seemingly in tune with the passage of the sun. Yet it would take many centuries before the true nature of these cycles began to unfold. In 1729, the French scientist Jean-Jacques d'Orthez de Marron conducted a simple but revolutionary experiment. He observed that the mimosa plant continued to move its leaves in a daily rhythm, even when kept in constant darkness. This suggested that the plant was not merely reacting to external cues like sunlight, but was following an internal clock, a concept that would challenge prevailing ideas about biology and time. As the centuries passed, other naturalists, such as Augustin Pyramus de Candolle and Charles Darwin, built upon these observations. They concluded that these daily rhythms were generated internally, not imposed from outside. Their findings hinted at something profound. Organisms possess within themselves a timing mechanism, an endogenous clock that enables them to anticipate and adapt to the regular changes in their environment. This evolutionary adaptation is not limited to plants. Circadian rhythms have been discovered across the vast tapestry of life, including animals, fungi, and even ancient cyanobacteria. What is especially striking is that these rhythms appear to have evolved independently in different branches of the tree of life. This convergence suggests that the benefits provided by internal clocks are so fundamental that they have emerged repeatedly throughout evolutionary history. The geological rhythms of our planet, the rising and setting of the sun, the waxing and waning of day and night have, over millions of years, shaped the biology of all living things. Organisms that could anticipate these changes, rather than simply react to them, gained a powerful advantage in the ongoing struggle for survival. The significance of circadian rhythms goes beyond mere adaptation. Studies have shown that organisms whose internal clocks are closely aligned with the environmental 24-hour cycle tend to enjoy enhanced fitness and longevity. The ability to predict dawn and dusk allows organisms to optimize their behavior and physiology, feeding, mating, resting, and even healing at the most opportune times. While direct empirical validation of the adaptive value of these rhythms in natural environments remains a challenge, both laboratory and field studies point to a clear trend. Those most in harmony with the rhythms of their world are more likely to thrive. But how do these internal clocks work? The answer leads us deep into the molecular machinery of life. For centuries, the mechanisms behind circadian rhythms remained a mystery. Only in recent decades have scientists begun to unravel the genetic and biochemical basis of these cycles. In 2017, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to Jeffrey C. Hall, Michael Rosbash, and Michael W. Young for their pioneering work in this field. Their research uncovered the molecular mechanisms that govern circadian rhythms, specifically identifying a set of genes and proteins that form the core of the biological clock. At the heart of this system are what scientists call core clock genes. These genes and their protein products interact in a complex web of feedback loops known as transcriptional translational feedback loops, or TTFLs. The basic idea is elegantly simple. During one part of the day, certain clock genes are activated, leading to the production of specific proteins. As these proteins accumulate, they eventually inhibit the very genes that produce them, causing their own levels to drop. When the inhibition fades, the cycle begins anew. This process repeats with remarkable regularity, generating self-sustained oscillations that approximate the length of a day. Importantly, these molecular clocks are not unique to humans or even to animals. The same fundamental mechanisms are found across a wide array of species, from fruit flies, which were central to the Nobel-winning research, to mammals, plants, and beyond. This conservation across species speaks to the deep evolutionary roots of circadian rhythms and their critical role in organizing biological time. The molecular clock provides a framework that allows organisms to anticipate and prepare for changes in their environment, rather than simply responding after the fact. In the animal kingdom, the circadian clock enables creatures as diverse as cnidarians, ancient marine animals like jellyfish, and mammals, including ourselves, to align their physiology and behavior with the ever-present cycle of day and night. This anticipation is not just a matter of convenience, it is a matter of survival. Consider, for example, how many animals time their activities, like foraging or avoiding predators, to the hours when they are least vulnerable or most successful. Similarly, in plants, the circadian clock regulates processes such as photosynthesis and hormone production, ensuring that energy is captured and used efficiently as light and temperature fluctuate throughout the day. The benefits of circadian timing are supported by a growing body of evidence from laboratory and field studies. In controlled environments, organisms with disrupted or mismatched internal clocks often show decreased health, reduced reproductive success, and shorter lifespans compared to those whose rhythms remain synchronized with the environment. While testing these effects in the wild is more complex, the patterns observed in nature support the idea that circadian rhythms enhance fitness and survival. Despite these advances, some questions remain. Although there is strong evidence for the adaptive value of circadian rhythms, directly measuring their evolutionary advantage in natural environments presents ongoing challenges. Many scientists continue to investigate how these internal clocks interact with the myriad other factors that influence life on Earth. What is clear, however, is that the circadian system is a fundamental feature of biology, one that has been shaped by the planet's own rhythms and, in turn, shapes the lives of all who dwell here. Circadian rhythms, then, are much more than a curiosity or a relic of our evolutionary past. They are a living testament to the power of time, encoded deep within the machinery of life itself. The next time you feel the tug of sleep as night falls or awaken with the rising sun, remember that you are participating in a cycle that stretches back to the dawn of life on Earth. This ancient clock continues to tick, silently and faithfully, guiding the rhythms of our days and the dance of life itself. Within the intricate tapestry of life, the daily rise and fall of our alertness, hunger, body temperature, and even moods are orchestrated by a master conductor, the body clock. At the heart of this system, deep in the brain's hypothalamus, lies a cluster of about 10,000 neurons on each side, forming the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. Though tiny in size, the SCN is monumental in its influence, acting as the master circadian clock in mammals. From its perch above the optic chiasm, the SCN coordinates the rhythms of virtually every cell, tissue, and organ, ensuring that our internal world runs in harmony with the external cycle of day and night. The SCN's role as the central clock is not a solitary one. It is in constant conversation with the world outside, listening primarily through light. Specialized photosensitive ganglion cells in the retina detect environmental brightness and send this information directly to the SCN via the retino-hypothalamic tract. This neural highway carries data not about images, but about the presence or absence of light, allowing the SCN to synchronize our internal time with the solar day. When dawn breaks and daylight streams into our eyes, these signals prompt the SCNN to reset the body's clocks, aligning us with the new day. This ability to tune into the environment keeps our rhythms precise, even when travel, seasons, or artificial lighting threaten to throw us off balance. Within the SCN itself, a fascinating level of organization emerges. The structure is divided into two main subregions, the core and the shell, each populated by neurons that communicate using distinct neuropeptides. Vasoactive intestinal peptide, gastrin-releasing peptide, and arginine vasopressin are among the key chemical messengers. These neuropeptides help synchronize the activity of SCN neurons, ensuring that the entire cluster pulses with a unified rhythm. In turn, this rhythmic activity becomes the master signal, guiding the timing of countless physiological processes. The reach of the SCNN extends far beyond the brain. Through a network of neural, endocrine, and autonomic pathways, it orchestrates daily cycles in behavior and physiology. Central among these is the sleep-wake cycle, a pattern so fundamental that its disruption is immediately felt. As evening approaches and environmental light wanes, the SCN signals the pineal gland to increase production of melatonin, the hormone that prepares the body for sleep. Conversely, as morning light floods in, melatonin production drops and the body readies itself for wakefulness and activity. Meanwhile, the SCN also modulates the timing of cortisol release, producing a surge in the stress hormone each morning, a physiological alarm clock that sharpens alertness and primes us for the day ahead. But sleep and alertness are only the beginning. The body clock under SCN direction times the ebb and flow of body temperature, which typically dips at night and rises during the day, influencing both metabolic rate and cognitive performance. Heart rate and blood pressure follow daily cycles, as do patterns of immune cell trafficking, helping the body optimize its defense against infection. Even metabolism is not left to chance. When we process food most efficiently, how we store energy, and when we are most sensitive to insulin are all regulated by circadian cues. The daily cycling of these processes helps maximize energy usage during periods of activity while promoting recovery and repair during rest. The amplitude and phase of these rhythms, their strength and timing are tuned to optimize alertness, conserve resources, and facilitate healing. Remarkably, the story of circadian timing does not stop at the SCN. Nearly every tissue and organ in the body harbors its own clock, made up of the same core clock genes and molecular feedback loops found in the master clock. These so-called peripheral clocks generate local rhythms in the liver, heart, pancreas, and beyond, driving cycles of gene expression and physiological activity specialized to each organ's function. But left to their own devices, peripheral clocks can drift out of sync with each other and with the outside world. The SCN acts as a conductor, sending time-of-day information throughout the body to keep these clocks coordinated. This hierarchical organization, one master clock guiding many local clocks, ensures that the body's complex systems operate in lockstep, with tissues primed to work together at the right times. Yet, the SCN is not the only conductor. Peripheral clocks, though usually kept in line by signals from the SCN, can also respond directly to non-light cues. Food intake, temperature fluctuations, and even patterns of physical activity serve as Zeitgebers, a German word meaning time givers that help synchronize circadian rhythms to the environment. When you eat a meal at an unusual hour or exercise late at night, you provide cues that can shift the timing of clocks in your liver or muscles, sometimes independent of the central clock. In this way, the timing of our behaviors, when we eat, move, or rest, feeds back into the system, fine-tuning rhythms to the life we lead. Though light is the most powerful Zeitgeber, its influence is complemented by these other cues. Daily exposures to the natural light-dark cycle are especially important, as they directly entrain the SCN and, through it, the entire network of body clocks. Regular meal timing and routine physical activity further reinforce circadian synchrony, helping maintain coherence across all tissues. Conversely, irregular schedules, shift work, or exposure to artificial light at night can disrupt this synchrony, with potential consequences for health, a topic that continues to be studied in depth. At the heart of each clock, whether in the SCN own, AEA, or a distant organ, lies the molecular machinery of circadian timekeeping. The interplay of core clock genes, BMAL, 1, CLOCK, PER, CRY, and others, drives a cycle of gene activation and inhibition. Each day, these genes are turned on, leading to the production of clock proteins. As these proteins accumulate, they feed back to shut off their own production, only to decay and allow the cycle to begin anew. This molecular dance creates a rhythmic pattern of gene expression, which in turn drives the daily cycles of hormone release, metabolism, and behavior. The SCN's master rhythm sets the pace, but the same machinery ticks away in every cell, translating the language of time into the chemistry of life. This robust system of central and peripheral clocks, guided by both internal mechanisms and environmental cues, enables the body to anticipate and adapt to the changing demands of day and night. Through neural, hormonal, and autonomic signals, the SCN relays time-of-day information throughout the body, orchestrating a symphony of physiological cycles. From the morning surge of cortisol to the evening release of melatonin, from the rise and fall of body temperature to the cycling of genes in each organ, the body clock is in constant action, shaping our days and our nights. Even as science continues to probe the finer details, such as the precise role of different neuropeptides within the SCN, or how peripheral clocks balance signals from light and food, one fact is clear. The synchronization of our internal clocks with the external world is not a passive process, but a dynamic, ongoing negotiation. Light, food, temperature, and activity all play their part, with the SCN as the ever-vigilant timekeeper, ensuring that the rhythms of life persist, adapt, and endure. The body clock is not merely a background process, it is the quiet architect of our daily existence, regulating and optimizing every aspect of our physiology, from the moment we wake to the moment we sleep, and in every hour in between. Sometimes, the smooth ticking of our internal clocks falters, and with that disruption comes a cascade of consequences for both body and mind. In today's world, it is nearly impossible to escape the relentless demands of modern life, night shifts, red-eye flights, glowing screens, and social schedules that stretch into the early hours. Each of these, in its own way, can disturb the delicate machinery of our circadian rhythms. Scientists have spent decades unraveling what happens when this intricate system is thrown off course, and the answers are sobering. The health effects of circadian misalignment ripple through nearly every organ and process, sometimes in ways that are immediate and obvious, and sometimes in ways that remain hidden until patterns of dysfunction accumulate over months or years. Consider the experience of shift workers. Millions of people worldwide keep societies running around the clock. Healthcare workers, first responders, factory laborers, transport operators. Their schedules, dictated by necessity, often require them to work at night and sleep during the day, inverting the natural order. This is more than a matter of personal preference or inconvenience. For many, it leads to a distinct medical problem, shift work sleep disorder or SWSD. Those affected find themselves battling insomnia when they need rest and an overwhelming sleepiness when they are expected to be alert. The consequences reach far beyond fatigue. The risk of workplace accidents rises, as does the likelihood of errors in tasks that demand concentration. For someone entrusted with the care of others or the operation of heavy machinery, these dangers are not abstract. They are real and sometimes life-threatening. Shift work is just one piece of the larger puzzle of circadian disruptions. Jet lag is another familiar example, experienced by anyone who has crossed several time zones in a matter of hours. The body's internal timekeeper, tuned to its original environment, suddenly finds itself out of sync with dawn, dusk, and scheduled activities. The resulting symptoms are universal and unmistakable: difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep at the local night, overwhelming tiredness during the day, headaches, digestive upsets, and, for many, a subtle but noticeable shift in mood. These effects typically resolve as the internal clock gradually resynchronizes to the new environment, but for a few days, the disconnect is palpable. The mismatch between internal time and external cues creates a state of biological confusion. Not all disruptions are as clear-cut as shift work or jet lag. Sometimes, misalignment is woven into daily life. Irregular sleep schedules, late-night exposure to screens or city lights, and unpredictable meal times. Each of these can nudge the body's clocks out of alignment with the world and with each other. Evidence from a wide range of studies indicates that chronic circadian misalignment is linked to an array of health problems. These include metabolic syndrome, obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, gastrointestinal disorders, cancer, and mood disorders such as depression and bipolar disorder. The connections are not mere statistical quirks. They reflect deep physiological changes now being mapped at the level of genes and cell signaling. One of the most striking discoveries is that circadian misalignment can fundamentally alter the way the body processes food and manages energy. Appetite-regulating hormones shift in both timing and intensity. Signals that would ordinarily tell the body it is time to refuel or stop eating become blunted or arrive at the wrong time. Glucose metabolism. The ability to efficiently use or store sugar becomes impaired, and energy expenditure falls out of sync with actual activity. As a result, people experiencing chronic circadian disruption are more likely to crave high-calorie, nutrient-poor foods at odd hours, promoting weight gain and, over time, increasing the risk of metabolic dysfunction. The reach of circadian disruption extends to the body's most foundational processes. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, may be the master clock, but it is not alone in keeping time. Each peripheral organ, liver, heart, pancreas, gut, has its own clock, and when the master clock falls out of sync with these local timekeepers, internal desynchronization ensues. This breakdown can be seen at the level of gene expression, as the molecular rhythms that orchestrate processes like digestion, detoxification, and cell repair lose their coherence. The result is a body in which some systems are preparing for day while others are winding down for night, a recipe for inefficiency and, eventually, pathology. Mood and mental health are not spared. Strong evidence shows that circadian misalignment can trigger or worsen disorders such as depression and bipolar disorder. The mechanisms are complex, involving disruptions in neurotransmitter systems, hormone signaling, and even immune function. For individuals already prone to mood disorders, disturbed sleep patterns or irregular routines can become both a cause and a consequence of worsening symptoms, a bi-directional relationship that can be difficult to break. Gastrointestinal complaints are another common, if sometimes overlooked, effect of disrupted circadian rhythms. The digestive tract, like other organs, runs on a schedule. When this rhythm is repeatedly interrupted by eating at odd hours, inconsistent sleep, or sudden time zone changes, symptoms such as indigestion, constipation, or diarrhea can emerge. Over months and years, these disruptions may contribute to the development of chronic gastrointestinal conditions. Perhaps the most sobering findings come from large epidemiological studies. These have shown that people with chronic circadian rhythm disruption face an increased risk of dying from a range of causes, including diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cerebrovascular disease, and kidney disease. The risks are not confined to one demographic or occupation. They appear wherever circadian misalignment persists. The American Heart Association and similar organizations now emphasize the importance of circadian health as a pillar of cardiometabolic well-being, alongside more familiar factors like diet, exercise, and blood pressure. It is clear from the evidence that circadian disruption can make existing health problems worse, while disease itself can further disturb the body's internal timing, a vicious cycle that challenges both prevention and treatment. The precise mechanisms of this interplay are only beginning to be understood, but the pattern is unmistakable. The body's clocks are intimately connected to its overall health, and when time goes awry, multiple systems can falter together. All of this underscores an urgent need for strategies to protect and restore circadian synchrony, especially as the pressures of modern life continue to encroach on natural rhythms. From the level of gene expression in individual cells to the broad sweep of population health statistics, the message is consistent. Our bodies are built to run on time, and when that time falters, the consequences are both immediate and enduring. The challenge, then, is to find ways, both individual and collective, to keep our inner clocks ticking in harmony with the world around us. Imagine for a moment that you could tune your body the way a musician tunes an instrument, adjusting the strings, listening for harmony, nudging until everything resonates just right. For your body, that harmony is achieved through your circadian rhythms. These rhythms, whether strong or frayed, shape how you feel, how you function, and even how you heal. But unlike a violin or piano, the adjustment is not about turning a peg or pressing a key. It is about weaving together small, daily choices that honor the natural ebb and flow of your internal clock. So, how does one actually live in sync with their circadian blueprint? The science is clear: regularity is your ally. One of the most powerful tools you have is the simple act of keeping a consistent sleep and wake schedule. When you set a steady bedtime and rise time, even on weekends, you anchor your body clock to a predictable pattern. This consistency not only helps you fall asleep more easily, it also strengthens the amplitude of your circadian rhythms, making the peaks and valleys of alertness and rest more pronounced. Strong circadian amplitude, research shows, is linked to better metabolic and cognitive health, offering a kind of internal resilience against stress and disease. But the story does not end with sleep. The timing of your meals is another cornerstone of circadian health. Eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner at roughly the same times each day gives your body additional time cues, reinforcing the synchrony of your internal clocks. Even planning when you eat rather than just what you eat can be a surprisingly powerful intervention. Skipping meals or eating at irregular hours, on the other hand, can throw your internal clocks out of sync, setting off ripples that affect everything from energy levels to hormone release. Light, of course, is the master conductor. The first rays of morning sunlight do more than illuminate the world. They send a signal to your circadian system, letting it know the day has begun. Stepping outside for a few minutes soon after waking, or at least spending time near a bright window, helps advance your internal clock, sharpening alertness and setting the stage for restful sleep later. Conversely, the blue glow of artificial lights, screens, overhead bulbs, even street lights slipping through your curtains, can trick your brain into thinking it is still daytime. Minimizing exposure to bright and especially blue-rich light in the evening supports the natural rise in melatonin, the hormone that prepares you for sleep. For some, especially those who work night shifts or travel across time zones, these natural cues can be difficult to harness. In such cases, bright light therapy becomes a valuable tool. By exposing yourself to controlled bursts of intense light at strategic times, you can help reset your internal clock, easing the transition back to a healthy rhythm. Melatonin supplements also have their place, especially for those facing circadian rhythm disorders or dealing with jet lag. When timed correctly, melatonin can help nudge your body towards sleep, but it is most effective when paired with the other foundational habits of circadian care. Avoiding certain pitfalls at night is just as important as embracing positive habits during the day. Caffeine is a notorious saboteur of sleep, lingering in the system and delaying the natural onset of tiredness. Heavy or late meals can also disrupt sleep and throw off the timing of your internal clocks, especially those in the gut and liver. And that irresistible urge to scroll through your phone or watch one more episode? The light from screens can suppress melatonin production and delay your body's readiness for rest. Daily life is not just about sleep and meals. Physical activity is another powerful ally. Moving your body during daylight hours, whether it is a brisk walk, a session at the gym, or even an afternoon spent gardening, does more than strengthen your muscles. It provides time cues to your circadian system, helping reinforce the distinction between active day and restful night. Social engagement, too, holds surprising power. Regular interactions with friends, family, or colleagues anchor your routines, offering consistency and emotional uplift that support circadian alignment. Emerging research is now exploring how to refine these strategies, tailoring them to individual differences. Not everyone wakes with the dawn or feels alert late into the night. Scientists call these patterns chronotypes. Some are larks, others are owls, and most fall somewhere in between. By understanding your own chronotype, you can personalize routines for greater effectiveness. For example, early risers may benefit from morning exercise, while night owls might do well to gradually shift their schedules earlier, in tandem with carefully timed light exposure and meal patterns. This personalized approach is finding its way into medicine and nutrition as well, in the form of chronointervention. Chrononutrition, the science of meal timing, suggests that eating in alignment with your body's rhythms, perhaps favoring a hearty breakfast and a lighter evening meal, can optimize metabolism and energy use. Chronomedicine, meanwhile, explores the timing of medications, aiming to administer drugs when they are most effective or least likely to cause side effects based on the body's daily cycles. While these fields are still developing, early evidence suggests that respecting biological time could enhance the power of both food and medicine. The future of circadian health looks even more precise. Scientists are working to decode each individual's unique circadian profile, identifying subtle differences in clock gene expression, hormone rhythms, and behavioral patterns. The hope is that one day, interventions can be tailored to your specific biology, increasing their effectiveness and reducing the risk of disease. For now, however, the basics remain the same: regular sleep and wake times, consistent meals, daily exposure to natural light, and mindful management of evening light and stimulants. Behavioral interventions, supported by decades of research, remain the first line of defense for most people. Simple measures like setting an alarm for both bedtime and waking, keeping meals predictable, dimming lights in the evening, and reducing screen time before bed can yield meaningful benefits. Structured daily routines, with built-in time for physical activity and social connection, help maintain the natural amplitude of circadian rhythms, those vital oscillations between activity and rest that underpin robust health. For those facing persistent circadian challenges, such as shift workers or frequent travelers, more intensive interventions may be needed. Bright light therapy, melatonin supplementation, and carefully managed routines can help restore alignment, but ongoing research is seeking to refine these tools, making them more precise and accessible. Scientists are also exploring new therapies, sometimes called precision circadian medicine, that aim to prevent or even reverse disease by restoring healthy biological rhythms at the genetic and cellular level. The journey towards circadian health is not about perfection, but about honoring the ancient, adaptive wisdom encoded in your body's clocks. Each morning spent in sunlight, each evening spent in restful darkness, each meal timed with care, is a note in the symphony of your internal time. By living in sync, by tuning your life to the natural rhythms within you, not only feel better in the present, but you lay the groundwork for a healthier future. The science continues to evolve, promising new strategies and deeper understanding, but the heart of circadian well-being lies in the simple daily acts of respect for your body's most fundamental rhythm: